Hi, I'm Steve from Branches Garden Center, and today we're going to be doing some spring pruning on a rose. Normally we do the first spring pruning early to mid-March, depending upon the weather. Right now it's the first week of April, but it's still not too late. The only difficult part about pruning a rose a little bit later, first part of April, is that there's a lot of new growth, and sometimes that's difficult for people to cut off that new growth, but it's really going to be okay. Today we're pruning a tree rose, but the techniques and the things that we're going to be looking for and doing are really no different for a tree rose than they are for a normal rose. As you begin pruning, the first things you need to look for are for any damaged branches. This particular branch right here has been broken and healed over again, so we're going to need to trim that off. There are also some dead or dying branches or any other damage or things that you see are crossing. Beyond that, we're basically just going to bring the entire rose down just a little bit closer in, and then it will establish new branches. Okay, and as we start, you want to kind of decide about how big and balanced you want the shrub to be when you're finished, so a general idea. So we're going to start about no more than a foot out from the stalk, and just pruning this first one and slightly at an angle and pruning it off. And again, there's the difficult part about trimming off all those beautiful branches, but that just needs to be done. We're pruning off this branch because of the damage that's here, and pruning this back. We're going to prune this one off down here, and you don't see any growth or any buds down in here, but there are places that the new growth is going to show up there, so don't be concerned about just cutting it off to bare wood. Something else that we want to do is cut back any small branches, little things like this, because they aren't really strong enough to support good growth. And then you also want to prune out the center as much as possible so that you have an open vase shape. There will be more branches that will grow in, but you want to start out with it open in the inside so there's good circulation, good airflow and so forth, so it doesn't hold the moisture in there, and that will help to reduce the occurrence of black spot. Something else while we're talking about black spot is that oftentimes as the roses winter over, there will be a few leaves from last year. Here's a leaf with some black spot on it. When we're through pruning, most of those are probably going to be gone, but if there's any of the older leaves from last year, be sure and remove those and clean that up, and clean up any leaves that might be on the ground, because the spores on that black spot will splash back up in the rain and reinfect your bush. And don't be too nervous about if you happen to make one bad cut. It's not going to destroy the tree, and or the shrub, and it's going to recover and send out some new shoots anyway. So it's better to do it than to not do it because you're so worried about making a mistake. All right, we're getting close to being done here. Just a couple more cuts, and then just to pick off any of those leftover leaves that we were talking about. And this one's kind of sticking out longer than anybody else. As you complete your pruning, it's a good idea to do your first feeding of the roses too. A healthy rose is a much sturdier rose and much more resistant to diseases and insects. And roses are heavy feeders and like lots of water. So give them their first application of a good organic fertilizer, and just spread that around, and as best you can, mix that fertilizer some in with the soil. What I'm using today is Dr. Earth Life fertilizer. It is a water-soluble fertilizer, so if your roses are well established and difficult for you to mix it in with the soil, the Life is a good possibility. Otherwise, the Dr. Earth Rose fertilizer is excellent. That's what I use on all of our roses. And again, just mix that into the soil, and then make sure that the rose is well fed. And in a few weeks, you're going to see lots of new healthy shoots on here. And just remember to keep the rows well watered, and then feed it about once a month through the growing season, and you're going to have a gorgeous rose.